In the world of sports, there is one opponent who is truly unbeatable. Father Time. He's ruthless, unforgiving, and no one really ends up escaping him. There always comes a time when even the very best must concede and admit defeat. It's a hard truth, and as the NHL gets faster and more skilled, it has become a young man's game. But right now, Sidney Crosby, Evgeni Malkin, and the Pittsburgh Penguins are putting up a damn good fight. In their 18th season at 35 and 37 years old, they're doing the unthinkable. All of those hard miles, career-threatening injuries, and franchise turmoil in the offseason, these two guys are still finding ways to dominate. For the second consecutive season, the Pittsburgh Penguins are the oldest team the NHL has to offer. And even after a slow start, they are now starting to catch fire. This shouldn't be possible given their age, but when you take a deeper look at how they've adjusted their game, it shouldn't be any surprise. The end of the 2022-2023 season for the Penguins was extremely bitter. They lost to the lottery-winning Blackhawks to get eliminated from the chance to make the playoffs, and the year ended in complete turmoil of how the future will unfold. The most telling quote was star Evgeni Malkin talking about the state of the team, saying that he and the team tried hard, but the league is young and they play extremely hard. That's not what you'd love to hear from your aging superstar. From that quote, that's the sound of a guy who realizes that the game is starting to pass him by. So coming into this season as the oldest team in the NHL yet again, people were and are still doubtful that they can go on one last run. However, the play of Sidney Crosby and Evgeni Malkin indicates that these guys are still good enough to lead a team to the Stanley Cup. But it takes way more than two guys to win a cup, as we're seeing over in Edmonton as we speak. That's why the Penguins' recent success is a combined effort that involves a shift in how they're executing their system. When you age, the first thing to go is the legs and the foot speed. Ever since Mike Sullivan became head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2016, they won back-to-back cups playing an up-tempo game that relied on an aggressive 1-2-2 forecheck, with the defensemen playing a tight gap and the forwards creating back pressure. Pittsburgh's 1-2-2 was one of the more aggressive forechecking systems in the league, and when they were younger, it worked. It allowed the team's stars up front to take some chances, and it gave strong defensive skaters such as a prime Chris Letang the ability to deny entries on his own. Over the years though, the structure didn't change, but the people and personnel did. Now with an older Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson, the pivots and skating just isn't what it once was. Pittsburgh's rush defense is a problem for them because of their age and overall foot speed. Combine that with aging forwards not being able to get back as quickly to help neutralize second chances, you begin to get the same frustrating results as you got last year. And after a 3-6 start this year, Coach Mike Sullivan made an adjustment that has helped mitigate the age of the roster while simultaneously creating more chances for their aging superstars. Jesse Marshall of The Athletic had a great piece on this, which I'll link in the description, but essentially, the Penguins have shifted to a more passive 1-2-2 approach on the forecheck and in the neutral zone. In the recent win streak, you can see multiple instances where the Penguins' F1 pressures and the F2 and the F3 remain passive in the neutral zone to clog the middle of the ice. This has done two things. One, it mitigates the other team's rush chances, and two, it ultimately forces the other team to dump the puck in if executed properly. Instead of trying to push the pace, the Penguins are letting the game come to them and are inviting other teams to make the mistakes. If the Penguins' D can make that solid first pass and beat the aggressiveness of their opponent, this passive approach springs an offense. Now, this isn't foolproof as you see here against Columbus. If the attacking team gets the jump on the Pittsburgh defenders before they can quite settle in and make that first pass, well then it leads to the puck being in the back of the net. However, when it does work, it helps puck movers like Erik Karlsson and Chris Letang. Both of those guys are still extremely good at making a first pass in this league, so having them go back to retrieve these pucks that are dumped in allow them to utilize their strengths even more. From a team perspective, this is how the oldest team in the NHL is having success as of late. A more passive approach on the defensive side of the puck has ultimately created more offense. Then you have Sidney Crosby and Evgeni Malkin, who are on pace to have ridiculous seasons for their age. As they've gotten older, they've found ways to maximize their efficiency on the offensive side of the puck. Because of their age, they opt to not carry the mail and enter the zone with possession as often as most premier centers do in the league. Instead, they both use a variety of give and goes to penetrate teams off the rush and in the offensive zone. And that's not to say that these guys still can't do it themselves by taking the play by the horns and pushing the pace. They're still capable of doing it, but knowing their body and how they will be the most effective, they rely on their off-puck routes and teammates to generate offense. That distinction alone is a big reason why both of their games have aged so gracefully. As the game around them has continued to get faster, their awareness and quick offensive touches allow them to keep up and even exceed the pace of the game than if they were to try and use their legs. Pittsburgh's passive system allows their entire team to pick their spots. When your two best players prefer that type of play style, all of a sudden you have a 5-man unit playing on the same page in all 3 zones of the ice. For a team that has fully bought in on an aging core and is trying to squeeze the last remaining greatness out of its stars, a subtle change in how they approach the game has allowed them to look like a completely different team. For the Penguins, this could very well be their last dance with a Crosby and Malkin playing at this level. Father time ends up coming for everyone, but right now, this team and these 2 players specifically are doing their best to put up a fight.